Sorry. The only thing I could have done would have been worse would have been like that. Okay. Just real quick thing. I'm divorced.
Yay!
Remember George? George was talking about his 7th anniversary at the venue. 2 months from now will be my 7th anniversary with that woman who was abusing me and my kids. But 5 of those years have been spent without her. So that's why it's a big thing. 5-ish years trying to get. Anyways, moving on. Okay, a couple of months ago I came in and presented part of a thing I used to inspire some writers about planets, stars, and love, and how our relationships are kind of like the relationships between stars and planets. To go a little further into that, did you know that scientists about 10 years ago discovered that galaxies collide? It's not so much a big disaster where things are slamming into each other, because most of the space in a galaxy is empty, except for the gravity pulls between various stars. So galaxies, when they collide, it's more like they pass through each other. And that's how they can identify when they look at a galaxy in the distance if it has been collided with. Most galaxies are a nice spiral shape or a cloud shape, but disked. And so galaxies that have been involved in a collision kind of distort each other. Even after they've passed through, there's still some stars that would be way out of place. And so that's kind of the thing with galaxies colliding, is this galaxy had these stars, this galaxy had these stars, but after the collision, sometimes some stars from galaxy A stay in galaxy B. And sometimes stars in galaxy B stay in galaxy A. And then it occurred to me one day while I was sitting in a field watching a whole bunch of gnats, clouds of gnats doing the same kind of thing galaxies do, that it's like relationships. I get into a relationship with another person, and those traits, those characteristics that make up me, and the traits and characteristics that make up that other person, they mix briefly, and then if that relationship ends, some of the traits of that person may stay here, and some of the traits of this person may stay there, like stars in galaxies that have collided. So this came from that. Standing in a field dejected by love and sweltering in the heat of the zooming in star above, I thought love and affiliations were permanent, especially from someone whom said we were meant to be. Standing in a field not alone except with the usual me, observing 2 motes of gnats, and I contemplate, and floored I sat, originally concerned with whatever they would settle about with me. I watched them and learned something, albeit reluctantly, first contemplating an escape or a way to stand my ground, creatively dissuading their invasion from coming around. No, the swarms left me alone, and my thoughts again crossed that zone. Instead, the bodies of gnats chose each other through which to pass, those gnats urgently going over there, and these gnats desiring to go elsewhere. For a moment their clouds were one, then unknit to carry on. What occurred to me was that not all the bugs from either one would continue to carry on in their passages through. See, gnats are so little likely to hold on to a cause or a thought or magnanimous leader who brought them out to where they were from. Gnats are more loyal to simple causes like attaining lunch or fleeing from being lunch, and are less loyal to any one group. Albeit about a dozen years ago, observers found that galaxies collide. Not so much a crunch or a slap, but more like these swarms of tiny flies. Members pass through, and for the most part continue. And unless their core black hole hearts collide, most individual stars, they survive. But the shapes their departures form way depart from the galactic norm of their original spirals, bars, or cloudy swarms. But also, some stars remain in that other galaxy that they helped derange, that home from which they became estranged. It turns out that stars may be less than loyal, though we surely count on one and look to the rest for signs. Using stars to count our times, you see, and seeing fates in squiggly lines, we contemplate the ties that bind, which brings me to the cluster of stars that I see in you and in me. And really, that galaxy of traits that makes up everybody. When I advocate for you and I to collide, I'm trying to mix our stars, our fluttering bugs, our very scars. I have to promise I'll leave a thing or two in you. And I would not linger if I were not trying to absorb something precious and significant from you. And on the loneliness and the loss in the field on that summer day, I collapsed in the gravity of thought when I heard myself say, I was finding foreign gnats and stars among my scars, and finding out certain celestial gems were missing from my withins.